Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. With the notable exception of videos aimed at Mike Florio, this is probably going to be the least fair video you are likely to see on this channel. The Kansas City Chiefs signed to a tryout. I don't know if it's a contract. I don't know what it is, but they brought him in for minicamp, a wide receiver for whom I am going to be biased, not because I'm 5'7", not because I'm a white guy, but because he went to Eastern Michigan. I never attended Eastern Michigan, but in the days of NCAA football, long gone now because I do not game anymore, I used to love playing as Eastern Michigan. I even won the Heisman with Daniel Holtzclaw, a former linebacker from Eastern Michigan that is now no longer a linebacker, if you have kept up with that story, but might be playing tight end. So, in an article titled Kansas, so there's a couple reasons this is going to be unfair, and that's the first one. He played for Eastern Michigan. I want him to make the team. I should have finished this statement as well. I have no idea where these tryouts ended up. There were 4 players: JoeH Spivey, Joe Lombard, Tanner Knue. I am blanking on the offensive tackle's name, but I have a video already for the offensive tackle. There is a video on the channel for JoeH Spivey from last season, or is he's not a UDFA this year? Yeah, I'm blanking on the on a couple things here, but I don't know if I will be back for a Joe Lombard video. I do not know the current status of these players, but I thought it was worth looking into because of, one, when Brett Veach brings in players like this, even if they don't make the team, even if they don't make the practice squad during the course of the season, should the practice squad be plucked clean? Should the Chiefs need to sign additional wide receivers? I will not, for obvious reasons, go into why they might need to sign obvious reasons a little bit, because that is a sore subject around Kansas City, and I don't want to bring on the spite of the football gods. But oftentimes, Brett Veach will reach back into a player that he has already signed. So that might be what we are seeing here with Tanner Knue. Number 2, looking at the type of wide receiver that Tanner Knue is, if we are bringing this type of wide receiver in, it might mean something for that type of wide receiver on the roster. In an article titled Kansas City Chiefs host 4 players for tryouts during day 1 of mandatory minicamp, including 2 familiar faces from A to Z Sports by Charles Goldman, we get the following. On Tuesday, the Kansas City Chiefs had 4 tryout players in the building for day 1 of mandatory minicamp practices per the NFL's daily personnel notice. It's relatively common for the team to host players for tryouts at various junctures of the offseason to fill depth needs. It's also no surprise that these tryouts come after the UFL championship game, with the 2025 UFL season concluding. The Chiefs hosted 2 players who found themselves on UFL rosters, including one they're quite familiar with. Right, so JoeH Spivey is not a UDFA this season. I apologize for getting that confused. They also got a second look at a player they had in the building in May after the 2025 NFL Draft. Minicamp tryout 2, Tanner Knue, wide receiver. Knue signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Michigan following the 2024 NFL Draft. The 5'11", 180-pound wideout didn't make it through the 53-man roster cuts in Tampa despite putting up some solid numbers during the preseason with 9 catches on 13 targets for 86 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver isn't a major need for Kansas City at this juncture, but he seems like the perfect candidate for the call list should the team need depth in a pinch. Now, the most unfair criticism you're going to see in this video is about to happen. Don't hold this against me. Don't assume that I'm doing this for nefarious reasons. You've seen, probably, Moneyball with Brad Pitt as Billy Beane. There was an old scout scene in that movie where the scouts, were sitting around talking about the players. What's his girlfriend look like? All of these sorts of things. These are real questions. Things like this are real questions. They might not have, they're bro science, so they might not have actual correlations in the real world, but I'm just going to present this, just going to throw this out there. This is what Tanner Knue looks like. Okay, now, judge me if you must, but there's a couple things going on here. Number one, he looks like he might be the guy who takes the jerseys to get washed. Number two, he looks like he might receive for 1,000 yards from Tom Brady in a Bill Belichick offense. One of the two is likely in the future for Tanner Knue, right? These are not fair criticisms, but I have to say that if Harry Potter were American and born in a entering Hogwarts in 1996, this would definitely be him, okay? I'm just throwing it out there. That is main character energy. Okay, probably not going to make the team, but let's look at what's going on here. Who is Tanner Knue? An Eastern Michigan wide receiver, formerly an Eastern Michigan wide receiver. Anybody who can play football on a gray field has my vote of confidence. Tanner Knue, a 7.48 RAS. You can see the Kent State peeking out at the bottom of your screen. Probably you know where this is going. 5'10", 179. Those are both red numbers. Not great. Those are both lacking. 15 reps on the bench press. Not a bad number. 40-inch vertical. Good number. 10-foot 6-inch broad jump. Good number. 4.59 40-yard dash. Not a good number. Now, Jason Brownlee might be able to get away with it. Jason Brownlee, 6'2", 195 pounds. At 5'10", 179, there are different expectations on your body type. However, a 1.51 10-yard split is a 9.59 grade out of a possible 10. That is a very good number. A 4.16 short shuttle number is an 8.07 out of 10 score. Good number. 3-cone drill of 7.02, medium type of number. You know where this is going. You know where this had to go. It is a comparison with Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman, formerly of the Patriots, a guy who did very good in that offense, a guy who did very well for himself in that slot role, doing those underneath routes, etc. Now, why not compare him to Wes Welker, who I would say may have been a better player in the NFL at the NFL level? Wes Welker, I believe, scored a 1.79 on his RAS. Why not compare him to Danny Amendola? Danny Amendola did not score very well on his RAS. The total score of 7.48 is not a bad number for Tanner Knue. The 9.27 for Julian Edelman is a very good number. He had a 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. He had a 3.92 short shuttle compared to a 4.16. 3.92 is elite of elites. His 3-cone drill was 6.62 versus 7.02. He had a 4.52 40-yard dash compared to Tanner Knue's 4.59. He had a 2.58 20-yard split compared to 2.63. And his 10-yard was 1.52 compared to the 1.51 of Tanner Knue. So Tanner Knue has some strengths on the football field. Earlier, we were talking a little bit about Sky Moore. In the video, Who is Jason Brownlee? I made a video, Who is Jason Brownlee, earlier. In that video, we explored a little bit about why Sky Moore might be failing. Sky Moore has no strengths. Sky Moore is not I don't think he's a bad football player, But when you are that far down on the depth chart, you end up having to have strengths in order to create mismatches because you do not have the football talent to be a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. Tanner Knue has some strengths. The 40-yard dash is very bad, especially for an undersized guy. But the explosive numbers, 40-inch vertical, 10-foot 6-inch broad jump, and the short shuttle number of 416. Shuttle numbers are very, very difficult, right? So when you pair the 10-yard split of 151 and the short shuttle number of 416, you get a guy that might be able to exploit that underneath stuff on a defense. I asked earlier, even if Tanner Knue doesn't make the roster, what could it mean that they're bringing in a Tanner Knue type wide receiver to look at in minicamp? Why would this be relevant even if he is not on the roster? Well, because it sort of suggests that they want to get out of the Sky Moore business. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm making it up. But these are the things that you would have hoped Sky Moore would have been good at. Explosive numbers, 40-inch vertical. 10-yard split numbers, 151. Now, Sky Moore has an elite of elite 10-yard splits, but he does not have an elite short shuttle number. So, whereas Tanner Knue might not be Julian Edelman with his 9.27 RAS, he might be more impressive, and he might be enough more impressive than Sky Moore as an athlete to get some looks on the roster. Now, this is what he did in college. Again, it was at Eastern Michigan, so you have to take that into account. And he never really broke out, but he was very consistent. In 2020, 27 receptions, 413 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2021, 32 receptions, 342 yards, and 1 touchdown. 2022, 45 receptions, 632 yards, 9 touchdowns. Here is where I will go out on a limb and say something of conjecture. Had Tanner Knue improved on his 2022 season by 1 reception and 1 yard, he would have been drafted. There's a very, very likely chance, in my opinion, he would have been drafted. He would have been a 7th rounder. He might have been Mr. Irrelevant, but I think he could have been drafted. Instead, he fell to 50 receptions, which is more, but 479 yards and 3 touchdowns. Had he improved on 45 receptions, 632 yards, 9 touchdowns, he would have been too tempting to pass up in that 7th round for someone, in my opinion. Not definitely, but in my opinion, I think he would have been too tempting with a couple of those elite numbers that he had going on there. So just looking at him on the field, what is going on with Tanner Knue? Well, I will tell you this. He has elite ball tracking capabilities. The moment that ball leaves the quarterback's hands, Tanner Knue knows where it's going. And if this were the Chiefs of 2023, I think that might have been enough for him to have made the 53, right? Remember, they had all of those problems with, or was that 2022? I can't remember. I think it was 2022. They had all the problems with drops. That might have been, that ball tracking ability might have been enough for the Chiefs to have just gone ahead and signed him, to have just gone ahead and said, we're putting you at the bottom end of the roster, but you will be on the roster. He does have a great first step after the catch. He is, in general, good after the catch. But where I will offer criticism here is that his approach after making the catch, his running style, is kind of a chaos creator. He's stopping and going and backtracking, and he's wiggling all around. That rarely translates to the NFL. So it might be that in the MAC, he was an elite after the catch kind of guy. But in the NFL, it doesn't really translate. Also, he does show that lack of speed on film. He's not beating anyone over the top. He might make deep receptions, but it's because he's found a hole in the zone. It's because he has lost a cornerback. He's not getting a step, I don't believe, on anyone in the NFL. Not deep. underneath, right, that elite 10-yard split, that 20-yard short shuttle, those numbers might be able to wriggle him free in the underneath. I don't think he's going to be a down the field guy. The last thing I will say is that he does remind me of Nico Remigio. I have long championed Nico Remigio on the roster for the Chiefs. Tanner Knue is a guy that kind of fits into that realm. I don't know if I would be necessarily thinking Tanner Knue should make the 53. Last year, I thought that Nico Remigio should make the 53 because I thought that the one thing that I really liked about Nico last year was that he would sell out for the catch. It might be that he doesn't produce after the catch. He's making the reception. And that was really what I liked about Nico last year. Turns out he's a really good punt returner. So the wide receiver position for the Kansas City Chiefs this year is going to be very interesting as well. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube too. Share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button for more analysis like this. And I hope to have you back in the future.